All right. So basically, I think that the most critical portion of Bitcoin to be watching right now is the 4 hour. I still think that you're kind of like larger scale player who might have gotten a short here. You can mitigate risk and move the stop loss from what we think was a 0 point, excuse me, to now at the 2. So that would make your risk now 71,800 as a hard invalidation point for the bulls. So if we flip that, you really need to start contemplating on the bears are wrong, right? And we'll have to figure out the count from there. Um, I don't want to put too much stuff out. But essentially, we're looking for a 5 wave motion to the downside. Now, the most common thing to have happen would be that this wave 3 gets extended and moves down into this region. Then we get a 4, and then we get a 5, right? So I'm like somewhat team, sub 50K as the most shocking result that would come from this. And we'll figure that out as we go. But our wave 2 is really small, so I'm expecting the same with wave 4, right?
Clearly.
This wave 2 only took 1 day and 16 hours to 1 day and 20 hours, depending on which candle was the actual high. 71.8, 71. So yeah, about 1 day, 16 hours is what we're looking for a wave 4, followed up with a wave 5 to the downside. And again, this is rolling into what would be your larger daily scenario. I think as my primary count to the downside is going to be a W, X, and this is going to finish the Y leg to the downside. Another team that you could get behind is trying to say that this is 1 and a 2, a 3, a 4, and trying to finish the final fifth of 5. It just has a really extended fifth for whatever reason is that base camp thought. But for now, this is my primary. So we're looking for 5 waves to the downside to finish this. There's 2 ways that you can look for that target. One is going to be a trend-based fib extension from 0 to W over to X. And you will turn that to your corrective trend-based fibs so that you can see all the interactions that we've had so far. Great resistance, rejection off of 618 and the daily 50 EMA. The other thing that I want you to add to it is the 1.618 because I believe that could occur. Though it is super rare, sometimes it happens in crypto, so it's something that we have to be open to. But this kind of should be our catch-all area. That 56 to 52 should be a big range that we should be looking for. The next way that you can be measuring this would be the actual fibs of the ABC within the Y leg. And this is what kind of makes me side with we may get that deeper cut than we think, right? Like retesting out these 50 levels at the 786, if not 47 to 45. I really think at this point we would start to see some bottoming structures because everybody else will be screaming, the cycle's over, the cycle's over, the cycle's over. But lucky for you, you'll be buying the dip of the century. After which this would be A, looking for at least a 90% retracement in B, followed by a C wave. You can see we have liquidity that's left behind up here. Many stops along the way in which we'll also see liquidity in that 80K zone, again in the 86K zone, and again from 91 until external. So again, they've left tons of money behind. It would really shock most people and get them to flip bullish. But because of the 3-wave construction in a WXY, this B wave would need at least a 90% retracement, if not a new all-time high. So that's something to be watching for. But overall, that is our path on Bitcoin right now. Now, if you are to say, well, you're wrong, Surf. Okay, I'm very open to being wrong always. Great. What if we were to start reversing from here? I'm very open to that. And maybe even that same idea of account is that maybe the Y was in. Or, again, maybe, let's put this off to the side. Maybe your 5 was in and it's over. And somehow, some way that was an A, right? This is always a potential possibility. But if it was an A, that's a 3 waiver, we still look for the 90% in B. But if it's an A in 5 wave construction, then we only look for that regular old golden pocket retracement before we make another scary leg to the downside. So this is the main reason why I bought Bitcoin in spot in our last crash, and I'm just going to hang on to it. Because you're never going to know if you caught the bottom. You're never going to know if you caught the top. It's all highly speculative. And if you think you did, then you're an arrogant asshole. So what we're looking for is whether this B wave comes up into these construction levels of the golden pocket resistance, or do we get that minimum 90% retracement stepping into internal liquidity left behind here? We'll have to wait and see.